Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Melon. Good morning, Elias. Philzaban. Good morning. Welcome to church. Blessed art thou, the holy church. You. Welcome. Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to church. We. What a lovely day today, isn't it? One almost it's the last Sunday before Christmas, I think. And Christmas is coming. Um uh Gosh, intros every day are getting harder and harder. You notice that? You ever notice that? I'm struggling. I'm struggling out here. With our Lord art in heaven. He watches over us on today. Christmas is coming. To celebrate, what is Christmas celebrating? The birth of Jesus Christ. Our Lord Jesus Christ in where is he? In heaven. Any any Bible enjoyers remember what happened last week? I was trying to think about it in the shower. I couldn't for the life of me remember what happened last week. Woman Ruth did something, had a baby or something. Then the book of Samuel. Hannah had a double portion. And prayed for this child. Hannah prayed for the child. Eli's sons were scoundrels. There was the old priests and the old priest's family were his children were they were stealing from the offerings and eating too much or something. They were stealing from the offerings and God didn't like that. So Samuel was raised by that family. God came to Samuel and told Samuel that God's going to kill the children, the family's children for stealing Then the Philistines captured the Ark of God. The Philistines captured the Ark of God, and God didn't like that. You know, it's a big no-no in God's book, and then God brought plague to 3 Philistine cities as the ark moved between them, and then the Philistines was like, you know what? Let's give it back. Well, they put the ark with 2 cattle and sent the cattle by themselves to roam the desert. And if the ark of the God returned to its home, then that means God is real. And if it didn't, then that means that it was a coincidence that they all got like plagued of measles or whatever, chicken pox. They brought the house. They brought the symbol. Sinned against the Lord. Israel assembled. Philistines attacked. Suckling lamb. Some Israelis looked into the Ark of the God, and then God didn't like that, so he killed 70 of them. Remember that? Samuel anoints Saul. Who the hell is Saul? Lord revealed to Samuel, he will send a man named Saul. Oh yes, the people were like, we need a king. We need a king and not God. We don't want God because they forsake God. They're like, we need a king to rule over us, even though God is king, and God didn't like that. But God did it anyway. The people, even though God is king, God picked out a person to be the king, and so that's what happened. Which is unlike God, because normally if the people speak out against God, they die. But instead, God gave them a king. But God did say, if they get a king, the king will rule over them, steal from them, eat all of their food and stuff. Samuel said farewell to Israel. I have listened to everything you said and set a king over you. Now you have a king as your leader. Here I stand. He is my witness. The Lord, who appointed Moses and Aaron and brought your ancestors up out of Egypt. Now then, stand here, because I am going to confront you with the evidence before the Lord as to all righteous acts performed by the Lord for you and your ancestors. After Jacob entered Egypt, they cried out to the Lord for help. And the Lord sent Moses and Aaron, who brought your ancestors out of Egypt and settled in this place. But they forgot the Lord their God, so he sold them into the hand of Sisera, the commander of the army of Hazor, and into the hands of the Philistines and the king of Moab, who fought against them. They cried out to the Lord and said, "We have sinned. We have forsaken the Lord and served the Baals and the Ashtaroths. But now deliver us from the hand of our enemies, and we will serve you." Then the Lord said to Jerubbaal, "Barak Jephthah Samuel, and he delivered you from the hands of your enemies all around you, and that you lived in safety. But when you saw that Nahash, king of the Ammonites, was moving against you, you said to me, 'No, we want a king to rule over us,' even though the Lord your God was king. Now here is the king you have chosen, the one you have asked for. See, the Lord has set a king over you. If you fear the Lord and serve and obey him, and do not rebel against his commands, and both you and your king who reigns over you follow the Lord your God, good. But if you do not obey the Lord, and if you rebel against his commands, his hand will be against you, as it was against your ancestors. Now then, stand still and see the great thing the Lord is about to do. Is it not wheat harvest now? I will call on the Lord to send thunder and rain, and you will realize that what an evil thing you did in the eyes of the Lord when you asked for a king. Because remember, God didn't like when they asked for a king, because God is king.
Blessed morning, Manuka.
Hi, Bill. Hi, Bill. Hi. Then Samuel called on the Lord, and that same day, Lord sent, we're recapping last week, because I forgot. Lord sent thunder and rain, so the people all stood in awe of the Lord and of Samuel. The people said, "Pray to the Lord, your servant, that we will not die, for we have added to all our other sins." So amongst
Blessed
all
morning, Manuka.
Hi, Drake, good morning. Amongst all the other sins, they then decided, you know what? What's one more sin added onto the pile? Let's make a king instead of God. "Do not be afraid," Samuel replied. "You have done all this evil, yet do not turn away from the Lord, but serve the Lord with all your heart. Do not turn away after useless idols. They can do you no good, nor can they rescue you, because they are useless. For the sake of this great name, the Lord, Lord will not reject his people, because the Lord was pleased to make you his own. As for me, far be it from me that I should sin against the Lord by failing to pray for you, and I will teach you the way that is good and right." That was so nice of Samuel. But be sure to fear the Lord and serve him faithfully with all your heart. Consider what great things he has done for you, yet if you persist in doing evil, both you and your king will perish. And now it is present day. What's happening? It's church. It's church time. We're reading the Bible. This is the 19th or 20th session of the Bible reading. It's church. Good morning. We do this every Sunday. We read a bit of the Bible. Have you heard of the Bible?
Blessed morning, Manuka.
The book made by God. You might know him, our Lord, Jesus Christ, written by God. And now, present day, new chapter. Good morning, Ninya. Saul was 30 years old. You remember Saul? He was the king just before. He was the king anointed by God by the people, which God did not like when they did that. When he became king, he was 30 years old when he became king, and he reigned over Israel 42 years. Saul chose 3,000 men from Israel, 2,000...
Blessed morning, Manuka.
Blessed morning, Catastria. Amen. Saul chose from 3,000 men from Israel, 2,000 were with him in Michmash, and in the hill country of Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan at Gibeah in Benjamin. The rest of the men he sent back to their homes. Jonathan attacked the Philistines' outpost in Gibeah, and the Philistines heard about it. Then Saul had the trumpet blown throughout the land and said, "Let the Hebrews hear." So all Israel heard the news. Saul has attacked the Philistine outpost, and now Israel has become obnoxious to the Philistines. And the people were summoned to join Saul in Gilgal. The Philistines assembled to fight Israel with 3,000 chariots, 6,000 charioteers, and soldiers as numerous as the sand on the seashore. They went up and camped at Michmash, east of Bethaven. When the Israelites saw that their situation was critical and their army was hard-pressed, they hid in caves and thickets among the rocks and in pits and cisterns. Some Hebrews even crossed the Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. Saul remained in Gilgal, and all the troops with him were quaking with fear. He waited 7 days, the time set by Samuel, but Samuel did not come to Gilgal, and Saul's men began to scatter. So he said, "Bring me the burnt offering and fellowship offering." And Saul offered up the burnt offering. Just as he finished making the offering, Samuel arrived, and Saul went out to greet him. "What have you done?" asked Samuel. Saul replied, "When I saw that the men were scattering, and that you did not come at the set time, and that the Philistines were assembling at Michmash, I thought, now the Philistines will come down against me at Gilgal, and I have not sought the Lord's favor. So I felt compelled to offer the burnt offering." "You have done a foolish thing," Samuel said. "You have not kept the command of the Lord your God gave you. If you had, he would have established your kingdom over Israel for all time, but now your kingdom will not endure. The Lord has sought out a man of his own heart and appointed him ruler of his people, because you have not kept the Lord's command." Then Samuel left Gilgal and went up to Gibeah in Benjamin. What, is he not allowed to do a burnt offering? Was that the wrong time to do a burnt offering? And he screwed over everybody? Then Samuel left Gilgal and went up to Gibeah in Benjamin. And Saul counted the men who were with him. They numbered about 600. Didn't listen to God counter. If I think in his defense, I think this was the case of there just being so many rules that like he didn't think about it. Cause remember the burnt offering. Remember the offering saga. There was like 100 different reasons and different ways to do an offering, and why you had to do it or something. Remember? So I think maybe he just thought he could do an offering and grant favor. Nowhere in the Bible. Nowhere was it mentioned in the Bible so far that if you did an offering at the wrong time, then you were punished for it? You know, because the offerings are done because you sin. What if you don't sin but you do an offering? That's also a sin, apparently. Hi, Loomis. Good morning. Saul and his son Jonathan, and the men with them were staying in Gibeah and Benjamin, while the Philistines camped at Michmash. Raiding parties went out from the Philistine camp in 3 detachments. One turned toward Ophrah, in the vicinity of Sheol, another toward Beth Horon, and the third toward the borderland overlooking the valley of Zeboim, facing the wilderness. Not a blacksmith could be found in the whole land of Israel, because the Philistines had said, "Otherwise the Hebrews will make swords and spears." So all Israel went down to the Philistines to have their plow points, mattocks, axes, and sickles sharpened. All Israel went down to the Philistines to have their plow points, mattocks, axes, and sickles sharpened. So that Israel went to the people they're at war with to get their weapons sharpened. The price was 2/3 of a shekel for sharpening plow points and mattocks, 1/3 of a shekel for sharpening forks and axes, and for repointing goads. So on the day of the battle, not a soldier with Saul and Jonathan had a sword or spear in his hand. Only Saul and his son Jonathan had them. Now a detachment of Philistines had gone out to the pass of Michmash. One day Jonathan, son of Saul, said to his young armor-bearer, "Come, let's go over to the Philistine outpost on the other side." But he did not tell his father. Saul was staying on the outskirts of Gibeah, under a pomegranate tree in Migron. With him were about 600 men, among whom was Ahijah, who was wearing an ephod. He was the son of Ichabod's brother, Ahitub, son of Phinehas, and the son of Eli, the Lord's priest in Shiloh. No one was aware that Jonathan had left. On each side of the pass that Jonathan intended to cross to reach the Philistine outpost was a cliff. One was named Bozez, and the other Seneh. One cliff stood to the north toward Michmash, the other to the south toward Gibeah. Jonathan said to his young armor-bearer, "Come, let's go over to the outpost of the uncircumcised men." Is that like an old-timey slur? Calling degrading people to the uncircumcised men? It's like a shit post. Let's go to the outpost of those uncircumcised men. Perhaps the Lord will act on our behalf. Nothing can hinder the Lord from saving, whether by many or by few. "Do all that you have in mind," his armor-bearer said. "Go ahead. I am with you, heart and soul." Jonathan said, "Come on then, we will cross over toward them and let them see us. If they say to us, 'Wait there until we come to you,' we will stay where we are and not go up to them. But if they say, 'Come up to us,' we will climb up, because that will be our sign that the Lord has given them into our hands." So both of them showed themselves to the Philistine outposts. "Look," said the Philistines, "the Hebrews are crawling out of the holes they were hiding in." The men of the outpost shouted to Jonathan and his armor-bearer, "Come to us, and we'll teach you a lesson." So Jonathan said to his armor-bearer, "Climb up after me. The Lord has given them into the hand of Israel." Jonathan climbed up, using his hands and feet, with his armor-bearer right behind him. The Philistines fell before Jonathan, and his armor-bearer followed and killed behind him. In the first attack, Jonathan and his armor-bearer killed some 20 men in an area of about half an acre. That's the main character, Jonathan. Then panic struck the whole army, those in the camp and the field, and those in the outposts and raiding parties, and the ground shook. It was the panic sent by God. Saul's lookouts at Gibeah and Benjamin saw the army melting away in all directions. Then Saul said to the men who were with him, "Muster the forces and see who has left us." When they did, it was Jonathan and his armor-bearer who were not there. Saul said to Ahijah, "Bring the ark of God." Brackets, at that time it was with the Israelites. While Saul was talking to the priest, the tumult in the Philistine camp increased more and more. So Saul said to the priest, "Withdraw your hand." Then Saul and all his men assembled and went to the battle. They found the Philistines in total confusion, striking each other with their swords. Those Hebrews who had previously been with the Philistines had gone up with them to their camp, went over to the Israelites who were with Saul and Jonathan. When all the Israelites who had hidden in the hill country of Ephraim heard about that the Philistines were on the run, they joined the battle in hot pursuit. So on that day the Lord saved Israel, and the battle moved on beyond Beth-aven. Jonathan eats honey. That's the title of the next chapter. Now the Israelites were in distress that day, because Saul had bound the people under an oath, saying, "Cursed be anyone who eats food before evening comes, before I have avenged myself on my enemies." So none of the troops tasted food. The entire army... Let me guess. Jonathan's gonna eat food. The entire army entered the woods, and there was honey on the ground. On the ground? That's gotta be it. That's a trap. Honey is not just on the ground. That's a trap sent by the Lord. Don't fall for it, Jonathan. But when they went into the woods, they saw honey oozing out. Yet no one put his hand to his mouth, because they feared the oath. But Jonathan had not heard that his father had bound the people with an oath. So he reached out the end of his staff that was in his hand and dipped it into the honeycomb. He raised his hand to his mouth, and his eyes brightened. Then one of the soldiers told him, "Your father bound the army under a strict oath, saying, 'Cursed be anyone who eats the food today.' That is why the men are faint." Jonathan said, "But why would he do that? Why did he oath the whole army to not eat?" Jonathan said, "My father has made trouble for the country. See how my eyes brightened when I tasted a little of this honey? How much better it would have been if the men had eaten today, some of the plunder they took from their enemies. Would not the slaughter of the Philistines have been even greater?" That day, after the Israelites had struck down the Philistines from Michmash to Ajon, they were exhausted. They pounced on the plunder, and taking the sheep, cattle, and calves, they butchered them into the ground and ate them together with the blood. With the blood! No, not with the blood. They're not allowed to eat blood. Then someone said to Saul, "Look, the men are sinning against the Lord by eating meat that has blood in it." "You have broken faith," he said. "Roll a large stone over here at once." Roll a large stone over here at once. Then he said, "Go among the men and tell them, 'Each of you bring me your cattle and sheep, and slaughter them here, and eat them. Do not sin against the Lord by eating meat with blood still in it.'" So everyone brought his ox that night and slaughtered it there. And Saul built an altar to the Lord. It was the first time he had done this. Saul said, "Let us go down and pursue the Philistines by night, and plunder them till dawn, and let us not leave one of them alive." "Do whatever seems best to you," they replied. But the priest said, "Let us inquire of God here." So Saul asked God, "Shall I go down and pursue the Philistines? Will you give them into Israel's hands?" But God did not answer him that day. He was pissed. Saul therefore said, "Come here, all you who are leaders of the army, and let us find out what sin has been committed today. As surely as the Lord who rescued Israel lives, even if the guilt lies with my son Jonathan, he must die." "No, Jonathan, no." But not one of them said a word. Saul then said to all the Israelites, "You stand over there. I and Jonathan my son will stand over here." "Do what seems best to you," they replied. Then Saul prayed to the Lord, the God of Israel, "Why have you not answered your servant today? If the fault is in me or my son Jonathan, respond with Urim, but if the men of Israel are at fault, respond with Thummim." Jonathan, I don't know what those are. Jonathan and Saul were taken by lot, and the men were cleared. Saul said, "Cast the lot between me and Jonathan my son." And Jonathan was taken. Then Saul said to Jonathan, "Tell me what you have done." So Jonathan told him, "I tasted a little honey with the end of my staff, and now I must die," is what he said. Saul said, "May God deal with me, be it ever so severely, if you do not die, Jonathan." But the men said to Saul, "Should Jonathan die, he who has brought about this great deliverance in Israel? Never! As surely as the Lord lives, not a hair on his head will fall to the ground. For he did this today with God's help." So the men rescued Jonathan, and he was not put to death. Then Saul stopped pursuing the Philistines, and they withdrew to their own land. After Saul had assumed rule over Israel, he fought against their enemies on every side: Moab, the Ammonites, Edom, the kings of Zoab, and the Philistines. Wherever he turned, he inflicted punishment on them. He fought valiantly and defeated the Amalekites, delivering Israel from the hands of those who had plundered them. Saul's sons were Jonathan, Ishvi, and Malchi-Shua. The name of his older daughter was Merab, and that of the younger was Michael. His wife's name was Ahinoam, daughter of Ahimaaz. The name of his commander of Saul's army was Abner, son of Ner, and Ner was Saul's uncle. Saul's father Kish and Abner's father Ner were sons of Abiel. All the days of Saul was bitter war with the Philistines, and whenever Saul saw a mighty or brave man, he took him into his service. Samuel said to Saul, "I am the one the Lord sent to anoint you king over his people. So listen to the messenger from the Lord. This is what the Lord Almighty says. I will punish the Amalekites for what they did to Israel when they waylaid them as they came up from Egypt." Is that all that happened to Jonathan? They just decided he's not going to die for the Lord? Is this going to come back and bite them? "Now go, attack the Amalekites, and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women and children." Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. So Saul summoned the men and mustered them at Telaim, 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 from Judah. Saul went to the city of Amalek, and set an ambush in the ravine. Then he said to the Kenites, "Go away. Leave the Amalekites so that I do not destroy you along with them. For you showed kindness to all Israelites when they came out of Egypt." The Kenites? I don't remember that. So the Kenites moved away from the Amalekites. Then Saul attacked the Amalekites all the way from Havilah to Shur, near the eastern border of Egypt. He took Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and all his people he destroyed with the sword. But Saul and the army spared Agag, and the best of the sheep and cattle, the fat calves and lambs, everything that was good. These they were unwilling to destroy completely, but everything that was despised and weak they totally destroyed. Then the word of the Lord came to Samuel. I regret that I have made Saul king, because he has turned away from me and has not carried out my instructions. Samuel was angry, and he cried out to the Lord all that night. Early in the morning, Samuel got up and went to meet Saul, but he was told, Saul has gone to Carmel. There he has set up a monument in his own honor, and has turned and gone on down to Gilgal. When Samuel reached him, Saul said, The Lord bless you. I have carried out the Lord's instructions. But Samuel said, What then is the bleating of sheep in my ears? What is this lowing of cattle that I hear? Saul answered, The soldiers brought them from the Amalekites. They spared the best of the sheep and the cattle to sacrifice to the Lord your God. But we totally destroyed the rest. Enough, Samuel said to Saul. Let me tell you what the Lord said to me last night. Tell me, Saul replied. Samuel said, Although you were once small in your own eyes, did you not become the head of the tribes of Israel? The Lord anointed you king over Israel, and he sent you on a mission, saying, Go and completely destroy those wicked people, the Amalekites. Wage war against them until you have wiped them out. Why did you not obey the Lord? Why did you pounce on the plunder and do evil in the eyes of the Lord? But I did obey the Lord, Saul said. I went on the mission the Lord assigned me. I completely destroyed the Amalekites who brought back Agag, their king. The soldiers took sheep and cattle from the plunder, the best of what was devoted to God, in order to sacrifice them to the Lord, your God, at Gilgal. But Samuel replied, Does the Lord delight in burnt offerings and sacrificings as much as in obeying the Lord? To obey is much better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is the sin of divination, and arrogance in the evil of idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king. Then Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned. I violated the Lord's command and your instructions. I was afraid of the men, and so I gave in to them. Now I beg you, forgive my sin and come back with me, so that I may worship the Lord. But Samuel said to him, I will not go back with you. You have rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you as king over Israel. This is good intentions gone bad. You hate to see it when you think you're worshipping the Lord, but you're actually not worshipping the Lord the exact way the Lord wants. You are dead. As Samuel turned to leave, Saul caught a hold of the hem of his robe and tore it. Samuel said to him, The Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you today, and has given it to one of your neighbors, to one better than you. He who is the glory of Israel does not lie or change his mind, for he is not a human being, that he should change his mind.
Blessed morning, Manuka.
He who is the glory of Israel does not lie or change his mind. Is he saying God doesn't change his mind? I've heard God change his mind in this book once before? You know, when God was about to destroy all the Israelites, and then what Moses prayed so that all of the Israelites didn't die. I remember he changed his mind and didn't kill them, but instead plagued them, I think. Hi Gecko, good morning. Saul replied, I have sinned, but please honor me before the elders of my people and before Israel. Come back with me so that I may worship the Lord your God. Can I just read that? No? So Samuel went back with Saul, and Saul worshipped the Lord. Then Samuel said, Bring me Agag, king of the Amalekites. Agag came to him in chains, and he thought, Surely the bitterness of death is past. But Samuel said, As your sword has made women childless, so will your mother be childless among women. And Samuel put Agag to death before the Lord at Gilgal. You mean Sodom and Gomorrah? Who? I don't know who that is. Who? I didn't know you were a man of God. But Samuel said, As your sword has made women... Then Samuel left Ramah, and Saul went up to his home in Gibeah of Saul. Until the day Samuel died, he did not go to see Saul again. Samuel died? No. Though Samuel mourned for him. And the Lord regretted that he made Saul king over Israel. The Lord said to Samuel, How long will you mourn for Saul, since I have rejected him as king over Israel? Fill your horn with oil and be on your way. I am sending you to Jesse of Bethlehem. I have chosen one of his sons to be king. But Samuel said, How can I go? I've read the Bible, the Quran, and the Bhagavad Gita. What's that? What's the last one? Is that sounds like an Indian name. Indian Bible. I didn't know that about you. Hinduism? Yeah, that's what I thought. Really? Heaven maxing. That's good. But Samuel said, How can I go? If Saul hears about it, he will kill me. What? The Lord said, Take a heifer with you and say, I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Invite Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show you what to do. You are anointed. You are to anoint for me the one I indicate. Samuel did what the Lord said. When he arrived at Bethlehem, the elders of the town trembled when they met him. They asked, Do you come in peace? Samuel replied, Yes, in peace. I have come to sacrifice the Lord. Consecrate yourselves and come to the sacrifice with me. Then he consecrated Jesse and his sons and invited them to the sacrifice. Hi Pika, good morning. Hi. When they arrived, Samuel saw Eliab and thought, Surely the Lord's anointed stands here before the Lord. But the Lord said to Samuel, Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." Then Jesse called Abinadab and had him pass in front of Samuel. But Samuel said, "The Lord has not chosen this one either." Jesse then had Shammah pass by. But Samuel said, "Nor has the Lord chosen this one." Jesse had 7 of his sons pass before Samuel. But Samuel said to him, "The Lord has not chosen these." So he asked Jesse, "Are these all the sons you have?" "There is still the youngest," Jesse answered. Classic. "He is tending the sheep." Samuel said, Send for him. We will not sit down until he arrives." I got a good song comfy hearing my neighbor every second. You ducting yourself? Okay. So he sent for him and had him brought in. He was glowing with the health and had a fine appearance and the handsome features. You're like, "Bye. Have a good night. Bye." Then the Lord said, "Rise and anoint him. This is the one." So Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the presence of his brothers. And from that day on, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David. Who? Oh, the youngest son is named David. Samuel then went to Ramah. Now in the Spirit of the Lord had departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord tormented him. "There's an evil spirit of the Lord?" Saul's attendants said to him, "See, an evil spirit from God is tormenting you. Let our Lord command his servants here to search for someone who can play the lyre. He will play when the evil spirit from God comes on you, and you will feel better." What? So Saul said to his attendants, "Find someone who plays well and bring him to me." No, God comes to Saul. One of the servants answered, "I have seen a son of Jesse of Bethlehem who knows how to play the lyre. He is a brave man and a warrior. He speaks well and is a fine-looking man, and the Lord is with him." Then Saul sent messengers to Jesse and said, "Send me your son David, who is with the sheep." So Jesse took a donkey loaded with bread, a skin of wine, and a young goat and sent them with his son David to Saul. David came to Saul and entered his service. Saul liked him very much, and David became one of his armored bearers. Then Saul sent word to Jesse, saying, "Allow David to remain in my service, for I am pleased with him." Whenever the Spirit of God came on Saul, David would take up his lyre and play. Then relief would come to Saul. He would feel better, and the evil spirit would leave him. Now the Philistines gathered their forces of war and assembled at Socoh in Judah. They pitched camp at Ephes Dammim, between Socoh and Azekah. Saul and the Israelites assembled and camped in the valley of Elah and drew up their battle line to meet the Philistines. The Philistines occupied one hill and the Israelites another, with the valley between them. A champion named Goliath. Is it David and Goliath? It's David and Goliath. A champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. His height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a bronze helmet on his head and wore a coat of scale armor and of bronze weighing 5,000 shekels. On his legs he wore bronze greaves, and a bronze javelin was slung on his back. His spear shaft was like a weaver's rod, and its iron point weighed 600 shekels. His shield bearer went ahead of him. Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and are you not the servant of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. If I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us." Then the Philistines said, This day I defy the armies of Israel. Give me a man, and let us fight each other." On hearing the Philistines' words, Saul and all the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. Now David was the son of an Ephraite named Jesse, who was from Bethlehem in Judah. Jesse had 8 sons. In Saul's time he was very old. Jesse's 3 oldest sons had followed Saul to the war. The firstborn was Eliab, the second Abinadab, and the third Shammah. David was the youngest. The 3 oldest followed Saul, but David went back and forth from Saul to tend his father's sheep at Bethlehem. For 40 days the Philistine came forward every morning and evening and took his stand. Now Jesse said to his son David, "Take this ephah of roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread for your brothers, and hurry to their camp. Take along these 10 cheeses to the commander of their unit. See how your brothers are, and bring back some assurance from them. They are with Saul and all the men of Israel in the valley of Elah, fighting against the Philistines." Early in the morning, David left the flock in the care of the shepherd, loaded up, and set out, as Jesse had directed. He reached the camp as his army was going out to its battle positions, shouting the war cry. Israel and the Philistines were drawing up their lines facing each other. David left his things with the keeper of supplies, ran to the battle lines, and asked his brothers how they were. As he was talking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, stepped out from his lines and shouted his usual defiance, and David heard it. Whenever the Israelites saw the man, they all fled from him in great fear. Now the Israelites had been saying, "Do you see how this man keeps coming out? He comes out to defy Israel. The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give his daughter in marriage, and will exempt his family from taxes in Israel." David asked the man standing near him, "What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes his disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" They repeated to him and what they had been saying, and told him, "This is what will be done for the man who kills him." When Eliab, David's oldest brother, heard him speaking with the men, he burned with anger at him and asked, "Why have you come down here?"
Morning, Manuka.
"This morning, Dusty. Why have you come down here, and with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? I know how conceit you are, and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle." "Now what have I done?" said David. "Can't I even speak?" He then turned away to someone else and brought up the same matter, and the men answered him as before. What David said was overheard and reported to Saul, and Saul sent for him. David said to Saul, "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." Saul replied, "You are not able to go out against the Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." But David said to Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of the Philistine. Saul said to David, Go, and the Lord will be with you. Then Saul dressed David in his own tunic. He put a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. David fastened on his sword over the tunic and tried walking around, because he was not used to them. I cannot go in these, he said to Saul, because I am not used to them. So he took them off. Then he took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in his pouch of his shepherd's bag, and with a sling in his hand approached the Philistine. David and Goliath, it's David and Goliath with his little sling. Meanwhile, the Philistine with his shield bearer in front of him kept coming closer to David. He looked David over and saw that he was a little more than a boy, glowing with health and handsome, and he despised him. He said to David, Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. Come here, he said, and I will give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals. David said to the Philistine, You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. This very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands. As the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. Without a sword in his hand, he struck down the Philistine and killed him. David ran and stood over him. He took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it from its sheath. After he killed him, he cut off his head with the sword. When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they turned and ran. Then the men of Israel and Judah surged forward with a shout and pursued the Philistines to the entrance of Gath and to the gates of Ekron. Their dead were strewn along the Sharon road to Gath and Ekron. When the Israelites returned from chasing the Philistines, they plundered their camp. David took the Philistine's head and brought it to Jerusalem. He put the Philistines' weapons in his own tent. As Saul watched David going out to meet the Philistine, he said to Abner, commander of the army, Abner, whose son is that young man? Abner replied, As surely as you live, your majesty, I don't know. What? But Saul did know, because Saul called for his father. What? The king said, Find out whose son that young man is. As soon as David returned from killing the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul, with David still holding the Philistine's head. Whose son are you, young man? Saul asked him. David said, I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem. After David had finished talking with Saul, Jonathan became one in spirit with David, and he loved him as himself. From that day Saul kept David with him, and did not let him return home to his family. And Jonathan made a covenant with David, because he loved him as himself. Jonathan took off the robe he was wearing and gave it to David, along with his tunic and even his sword, his bow and his belt. Whatever mission Saul sent him on, David was so successful that Saul gave him a high rank in the army. This pleased all the troops and Saul's officers as well. When the men returning home from David had killed the Philistine, the women came out from the towns of Israel to meet the king Saul, with singing and dancing, with joyful songs, with timbrels and lyres. As they danced, they sang, "Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands." Saul was very angry. Saul was very angry. This refrain displeased him greatly. "They have credited David with tens of thousands," he thought, "but me only with thousands. What more can he get but the kingdom?" And from that time on, Saul kept a close eye on David. The next day, an evil spirit from God came forcefully on Saul. He was prophesying in his house while David was playing the lyre, as he usually did. Saul had his spear in his hand, and he held it, saying to himself, "I'll pin David to the wall." Why would he do that? But David eluded him twice. Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with David, but had departed from Saul. So he sent David away from him and gave him a command over 1,000 men. And David led troops in their campaigns. In everything he did, he had great success, because the Lord was with him. When Saul saw how successful he was afraid of him. But all Israel and Judah loved David, because he led them in their campaigns. Hi, Typha, good morning. Saul said to David, "Here is my older daughter, Merab. I will give her to you in marriage. Only serve me bravely and fight the battles of the Lord." For Saul said to himself, "I will not raise a hand against him. Let the Philistines do that." But David said to Saul, "Who am I? Who am I? And what is my family or my clan in Israel that I should become the king's son-in-law?" So when the time came for Merab, Saul's daughter, to be given to David, she was given in marriage to Adriel of Meholah. Now Saul's daughter Michal was in love with David.
Manuka.
Hi, Haku, the wolf spirit. Good morning. Hi. So that she may be Now Saul's daughter was in love with David, and when they told Saul about it, he was pleased. "I will give her to him," he thought, "so that she may be a snare to him, so that she may be a snare to him, and so that the hand of the Philistines may be against him." So Saul said to David, "Now you have a second opportunity to become my son-in-law." Then Saul ordered his attendants, "Speak to David privately and say, 'Look, the king likes you, and his attendants all love you. Now become his son-in-law.'" They repeated these words to David, but David said, "Do you think it is a small matter to become the king's son-in-law? I'm only a poor man and little known." When Saul's servants told him what David said, Saul replied, "Say to David, 'The king wants no other price for the bride than 100 Philistine foreskins.'" Say to David, "The king wants no other price for the bride than 100 Philistine foreskins, to take revenge on his enemies." Saul's plan was to have David fall by the hands of the Philistines. Yeah. So it's not the heads of the Philistines, it's the foreskins. What is he collecting? When the attendants told David these things, he was pleased to become the king's son-in-law. So before the allotted time elapsed, David took his men with him. Like, after you kill them, does he have to pull down their pants and cut off the skin? David took his men with him and went out and killed 200 Philistines and brought back their foreskins. I guess that answers that. They brought back their foreskins. Huh? That's interesting. One, the king wanted that. Two, he did that. They counted out the full number, so they put them all on a table and counted them like coins of foreskins. Is it really there? Yes. Yes. That's exactly what I read. They counted out the full number to the king so that David might become the king's son-in-law. Then Saul gave him his daughter, Michal, in marriage. When Saul realized that the Lord was with David, that his daughter Michal loved David, Saul became still more afraid of him, and he remained his enemy the rest of his days. The Philistine commanders continued to go out to... It must have been like a currency. You know, like we have dog tags now. Dog tags must be like the foreskins. Because the Israelites don't have foreskins. So you know, like, how do you know you killed the enemy aside from taking something that you don't have? The Philistine commanders continued to go out to battle, and as often as they did, David met with more success than the rest of Saul's officers, and his name became well known. Saul told his son Jonathan and all the attendants to kill David. But Jonathan had taken a great liking to David and warned him, "My father Saul is looking for a chance to kill you. Be on your guard tomorrow morning. Go into hiding and stay there. I will go out and stand with my father in the field where you are. I'll speak to him about you and I'll tell you what I find out." Jonathan spoke well of David to Saul his father and said to him, "Let not the king do wrong to his servant David. He has not wronged you, and what he has done has benefited you greatly. He took his life in his hands when he killed the Philistine. The Lord won a great victory for all Israel, and you saw it and were glad. Why then would you do wrong to an innocent man like David by killing him for no reason?" Saul listened to Jonathan and took this oath: "As surely as the Lord lives, David will not be put to death." So Jonathan called David and told him the whole conversation. Or he's going to go back on that. I bet Saul's going to try to kill him. So Jonathan called David and told him the whole conversation. He brought him to Saul, and David was with Saul as before. Once more war broke out, and David went out and fought the Philistines. He struck them with such force that they fled before him. But an evil spirit from the Lord came on Saul as he was sitting in his house with a spear in his hand, while David was playing the lyre. Saul tried to pin him to the wall with his spear. I've already read this. What? Oh, he's doing it again? Not only did he throw his spear at David once, but he's doing it again. Saul tried to pin him to the wall with his spear, but David eluded him as Saul drove the spear into the wall. That night, David made good his escape. Why would he go back after the last time? Why would he go back to that? Why would he still serve without after he tried to pin him to the wall last time? That night, Saul sent men to David's house to watch him and to kill him in the morning. But Michal, David's wife warned him, "If you don't run for your life tonight, tomorrow you'll be killed." So Michal let David down through a window, and he fled and escaped. Then Michal took an idol and laid it on the bed. No, no more idols. No, why does she have an idol? Covering it with a garment and putting some goat's hair in it. Oh, she's faking a body. When Saul sent men to capture David, Michal said, "He is ill." Then Saul sent the men back to see David and told them, "Bring him up to me in his bed so that I may kill him." But when the men entered, there was the idol in the bed, and the head was some goat's hair. Saul said to Michal, "Why did you deceive me like this? Send my enemy away so that he escaped." Michal told him, "He said to me, 'Let me get away. Why should I kill you?'" When David had fled and made his escape, he went to Samuel at Ramah and told him all that Saul had done to him. Then he and Samuel went to Naioth and stayed there. Word came to Saul, "David is in Naioth at Ramah." So he sent men to capture him. But when they saw a group of prophets prophesying, with Samuel standing there as their leader, the Spirit of God came on Saul's men, and they also prophesied. Saul was told about it, and he sent more men, and they prophesied too. Saul sent men with a third time, and they also prophesied. Finally, he himself left for Ramah, and went to great cistern at Seku, and he asked, "Where are Samuel and David?" Over in Naioth at Ramah," they said. So Saul went to Naioth at Ramah, but the Spirit of God came even on him, and he walked along prophesying until he came to Naioth. Then David fled from Naioth and at Ramah, and went to Jonathan and asked, "What have I done? What is my crime? How have I wronged your father, and he is trying to kill me?" "Never," Jonathan replied. "You are not going to die. Look, my father doesn't do anything, great or small, without letting me know. Why would he hide this from me? It isn't so." But David took an oath and said, "Your father knows very well that I have found favor in your eyes, and he has said to himself, 'Jonathan must not know this, or he will be grieved.' Yet as surely as the Lord lives, and as you live, there is only a step between me and death." Jonathan said to David, Whatever you want me to do, I'll do for you." What did they do on Saul's men? So David said, "Look, tomorrow is the new moon feast, and I am supposed to dine with the king, but let me go and hide in the field until the evening of the day after tomorrow. If your father misses me at all, tell him, 'David earnestly asked for my permission to hurry to Bethlehem, his hometown, because an annual sacrifice is made there for his whole clan.' But if he says, 'Very well, then your servant is safe. But if he loses his temper, you can be sure that he is determined to harm me. As for you, show kindness to your servant, for you have brought him into a covenant with you before the Lord. If I am guilty, then kill me yourself. Why hand me over to your father?" "Never," Jonathan said. "If I had the least inkling that my father was determined to harm me, wouldn't I tell you?" David asked, "Who will tell me if your father answers you harshly?" "Come," Jonathan said, "let's go out into the field." So they went together. Then Jonathan said to David, "I swear by the Lord, the God of Israel, that I will surely sound out my father by this time, the day after tomorrow. If he is favorably disposed toward you, I will not send you a word and let you know. Will I not send you a word and let you know? But my father intends to harm you. But if my father intends to harm you, may the Lord deal with him with Jonathan, be it ever so severely, if I do not let you know and send you away in peace. May the Lord be with you, as he has been with my father. But show me unfailing kindness, like the Lord's kindness, as long as I live, so that I may not be killed. And do not ever cut off your kindness from my family, not even when the Lord has cut off every one of David's enemies from the face of the earth. So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, May the Lord call David's enemies to account. And Jonathan and David reaffirm his oath out of love for him, because he loved him as he loved himself. Then Jonathan said to David, Tomorrow is the new moon feast. You will be missed, because your seat will be empty. The day after tomorrow toward evening, go to the place where you hid when this trouble began, and wait by the stone Ezel. I will shoot 3 arrows to the side of it, as though I was shooting at a target. Then I will send a boy and say, Go find the arrows. If I say to him, Look, the arrows are on this side of you, bring them here. Then come, because as surely as the Lord lives, you are safe, there is no danger. But if I say to the boy, Look, the arrows are beyond you, then you must go, because the Lord has sent you away. And about the matter you and I discussed, remember, the Lord is witness between you and me forever. So David hid in the field, and when the new moon feast came, the king sat down to eat. He sat in the customary place by the wall, opposite Jonathan, and Abner sat next to Saul, but David's place was empty. Saul said nothing that day, for he thought, Something must have happened to David to make him ceremonially unclean. Surely he is unclean. But the next day, the second day of the month, David's place was empty again. Then Saul said to his son Jonathan, Why hasn't the son of Jesse come to eat the meal, either yesterday or today? Jonathan answered, David earnestly asked me for permission to go to Bethlehem. He said, Let me go, because our family is observing a sacrifice in the town, and my brother has ordered me to be there. If I have found favor in your eyes, let me get away to see my brothers. That is why he has not come to the king's table. Saul's anger flared up at Jonathan, and he said to him, You son of a perverse and rebellious woman! You son of a perverse and rebellious woman. I think that's like the safer work way of saying you son of a bitch. You son of a perverse and rebellious woman. Don't I know? Is that the origin? Is that the origin of that saying? Don't I know that you have sided with the son of Jesse to your own shame, and to the shame of your mother who bore you? As long as the son of Jesse lives on this earth, neither you nor your kingdom will be established. Now send someone to bring him for me, for he must die. Why should he be put to death? What has he done? Jonathan asked his father. But Saul hurled his spirit at him to kill him. What? He hurled his spear at his son? Why should he? Saul hurled his spear at him to kill him. Then Jonathan knew that his father intended to kill David. Jonathan got up from the table in fierce anger. On that second day of the feast, he did not eat, because he was grieved at his father's shameful treatment of David. In the morning, Jonathan went out to the field for his meeting with David. He had a small boy with him, and he said to the boy, Run and find the arrows I shoot. As the boy ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. When the boy came to the place where Jonathan's arrow had fallen, Jonathan called out after him, Isn't the arrow beyond you? Then he shouted, Hurry, go quickly, don't stop. The boy picked up the arrow and returned to his master. The boy knew nothing about this, only Jonathan and David knew. Then Jonathan gave his weapons to the boy and said, Go carry them back to town. After the boy had gone, David got up from the south side of the stone and bowed down before Jonathan 3 times. With his face to the ground, then they kissed each other and wept together. They kissed each other? But David wept the most. Jonathan said to David, Go in peace, for we have sworn friendship with each other in the name of the Lord, saying, The Lord is witness between you and me, and between your descendants and my descendants forever. Then David left, and Jonathan went back to town. David went to Nob, to Ahimelech. The priest Ahimelech trembled when he met him, and he asked, Why are you alone? Why is no one with you? I think I might end early today because we have movie night, and also I don't want to read too much, and then next week there'll only be like 30 minutes of chapters in this book. I don't like reading in between 2 books in a session. 1 book. Wow. So David just escaped dying again. No more foreskin collection. David escaped, no longer with Saul. We'll find out what happens to Saul, to David and Saul next week. What a shameful display Saul has shown. Disgusting behavior, jealousy, bad king. God appointed a bad king. Wow. I hope you guys enjoyed today's church. And sorry it's short. But it's the church before, it's the Sunday before Christmas. Christmas is coming soon. Jesus' birthday. And I'm sure you must have to go to prepare for that. Wow. Remember to unthaw turkeys and hams. I don't have those. But yes, if you have those, do that. Goodbye, everybody.